We said no excuses, and that's why we're back at it again with another one. TRUENORTH.BET. Can't wait to get into this. I'm glad to be back. Glad to have some content. Glad to finally speak to you all again. It's going to be an incredible show, and I'm getting into it. And of course, you can see I'm coming back from spring break. It was incredible. I was out there in Miami. We had the World Baseball Classic happening. We had, of course, Miami Heat games happening. And, of course, spring break. It was incredible, and I'm just pleased to be back here, ready to get right into it. Cannot wait. And there's a lot of movement. When I was in Miami, especially, the news of Jalen Ramsey joining the Miami Dolphins surfaced. He was there with Xavier Howard. At the same game I went to with the Miami Heat playing the Memphis Grizzlies, and I went to the Miami Heat versus the Utah Jazz game as well. But it was incredible as we get into it because there's a lot happening in the NFL. There's a lot happening, a lot of movement in general. And as I said before, I said this on the last podcast, the best player in all of the draft is CJ Stroud. And CJ Stroud said he said he was the best player playing in college football. He was not lying. He is the best player. He was the best player the past few years. He simply couldn't get it done against the Michigan Wolverines, which stifled them in the college football playoffs this year. Last year, didn't get a chance to get there. It's just bad luck down the stretch, but he has the best technique when it comes to throwing a football as a young quarterback. I think better than Bryce Young, as well as he's just performed better in general. It's been that easy. It's been that simple to see for anyone that loves football, for anyone that knows football. You understand that CJ Stroud should be the number one pick, and the Carolina Panthers now adding Adam Thielen to their team, getting rid of DJ Moore. DJ Moore now is with Justin Fields. They're bolstering up everything up there for the other Ohio State quarterback, the Ohio State University quarterback in Chicago. But Carolina looks as though they're going to be good next year. They do have quarterbacks on their depth chart right now, but at the same time, they have gotten rid of Sam Darnold, right? They have gotten rid of, Baker Mayfield, who now is going to be starting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces, but I'm really excited to get into that and just to see exactly what happens down the stretch. But let's start off in the NFC South. In the NFC South, Derek Carr's added to the mix with the Saints. We've got Baker Mayfield now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everything adding the stock. Panthers obviously adding draft stock, trading up to get that number one pick. Now they're potentially having number one, probably number two pick they want to get as well. They have a lot of assets they're playing around with. Their owner passing away. Of course, they want to do really big for their owner and just the state and the city of Carolina. I think Carolina in general needs a winner. And I think with CJ Stroud, a few years, they can be right back in the mix, similar to the Cam Newton days with Greg Olsen, with Devin Funchess, and many other notables that played very well. Of course, Luke Kuechly. We have a number of guys. Thomas playing great on that team. They're trying to get back to that point and start with a new quarterback. It's hard to find a Cam Newton out there that can be the number one guy and start and have the bravado, the confidence. That's going to be really tough to find, but they have a chance to make it happen, and I think that they actually will. It's going to be incredible. A new member on the Buffalo Bills as well, too, is Harris, right? Devin Harris from the New England Patriots. That's going to be interesting to see exactly how he'll fit in with their offense. And that's something that's a little bit new. But Damian Harris going from the New England Patriots to the Bills, I think that's great news for them on their running game. So that's going to be their new starting back. I think that's a great move for them. And now, with him, RPO with Josh Allen, that's going to be incredible. And that's only 4 hours ago. So that's definitely good news for them. But I do think that these new quarterbacks coming in are going to be great. I think in the next few years, you'll have any more. The money they'll get and the money they'll command with the money that's going to be in the NFL is going to be bonkers fairly soon. So a lot of these quarterbacks are going to get better and better as they throw the ball from the high school level, elementary, college, and then, of course, the pros. They're already pro ready when they're in university. Like CJ Stroud is pro ready. He was in a pro offense. He was well protected the entire time he was playing after Justin Fields has left. He's got the juice. He's got the juice. And he's going to be a great player from there in the NFC South. He's going to be my favorite quarterback in that division fairly soon. And I think he's going to go number one. If Bryce Young goes there, it's a different story. I think CJ Stroud should be the first quarterback that the Carolina Panthers pick. If they don't do it, it'll be a grave mistake. But I feel like they would because they have some sense because of the moves I see that they're making. So I do expect them to take CJ Stroud with that first overall pick. That's going to be incredible. And I think that's something that a lot of people will look forward to. But the Saints, adding Derek Carr, we did, of course, we spoke about this a bit. Jameis Winston being done dirty. He signed again with the Saints. I guess the market for him wasn't great around the league. It's unfortunate. I still think he had a little bit to prove, and he was getting better. But that's obviously something right there that we have to roll with. The Falcons are going to roll with Desmond Ridder. They got rid of Marcus Mariota. It's really interesting. Of course, they added Taylor Heineke, and they paid him $20 million over 2 years. But it's interesting. Lamar Jackson, who was from that area in Georgia, Atlanta, was available, and yet you didn't want to take a chance. But yet the Falcons put on the bid last year for Deshaun Watson, but not Lamar Jackson, MVP, best player in this team, best player in the league for a few years to start until Patrick Mahomes kind of took over. It's just really interesting to see exactly what's going on in Atlanta and why they wouldn't put an offer towards Lamar Jackson, because he's definitely deserving of it. And I think he could be a guy with Kyle Pitts, with Drake London, that can actually boost that offense and actually do really well. But they're going to roll with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke. I think they're going to probably start with Taylor Heineke and then see Desmond come in a little bit later on. We'll see exactly what it is, because Taylor Heineke's not afraid. Taylor Heineke is a dog. He's never afraid of the moment. He, many ways, much better player than Carson Wentz this past year for the Commanders. I think that's a good pickup for them. Good money for him, especially as a backup, as a guy, and kind of in the Ryan Fitzpatrick role where they must be ready at all times, because they're going to be relied on quarterback, but they're going to be developing the quarterback behind him. So I think that Taylor Heineke's done the right thing by getting his money and doing what he can. Remember, Daniel Jones got, upwards of $100 million guaranteed. Daniel Jones has not won major games. He got killed by the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Definitely won, of course, against the Minnesota Vikings, but hasn't really put it all together as a guy that you can say is in the upper echelon of quarterbacks, but he's going to get paid. Average quarterbacks, adequate quarterbacks, going to get paid millions of dollars. Jimmy Garoppolo's getting paid. Daniel Jones getting paid. More of these guys are going to get paid. And that's just the name of the game now, right? Now you kind of command the money like a Patrick Mahomes, or for some reason, and it's not simply because Lamar Jackson is represented by his mother as his agent. He doesn't really have a professional agent. For some reason, Lamar Jackson is not the guy that teams want to grab, and I believe it's because he's not a pro style quarterback. He's a dual threat quarterback. He demands an offense to run a hybrid like offense in general. You have to run the ball quite a bit. He's taken a lot of hits. He doesn't want to take. He does a really good job of getting out of hits, but he's taken. There's a stat out there. He's been hit. They've got it for his career around 500 times. And he's only got paid $25 million. Okay, this is an MVP of the league. It's just incredible. And I hate to bring in, some, not conspiracy, but just my own thoughts about race here and there. It's not necessarily race. It's just the way that he plays. The way that he plays, the fact that he's a dual threat quarterback that's going to run, going to take hits. Teams don't want to give him the max $1 million. They're not going to give them $200 million because they're just afraid of it. Plus, other owners are going to look at that owner and say, hey, why do you do that? Now you set the market for all these other quarterbacks that should be paid the exact same, and they're pro-style quarterbacks that will have, in their minds, a more lengthier career than Lamar Jackson, who's taking hit after hit after hit on a consistent basis. But Lamar, even without running the ball, has been one of the most efficient passers in the NFL. He's ranked top 5 in efficiency and over the last few years. He's been super efficient. He's actually gotten a lot better since his first stint against the Titans in the playoffs. He's got a lot better throwing the ball, stronger arm. He's gotten stronger. He's shared the ball with Rashad Bateman and many others before he got injured. He's done a really good job. Rashad Bateman got injured earlier in the year, so it simply became more of a Devin Duvernay and Mark Andrews combo in general. Robinson as well too, but didn't necessarily have the weapons down the stretch to spread the ball. Plus, sat out those last few weeks because he was injured and doesn't want to risk it. He's in for a big payday, and it didn't even pay him. So now he's an unrestricted free agent. Teams can offer money, and Baltimore simply has to match. But they're under the impression that they'll be able to corral him into a deal, so on. So hopefully fairly soon, and change that narrative, because they do want to give him a lot of money, but they did offer him apparently $133 million over 3 years. Still not worth what he's provided, right? He's worth a lot more. I think everyone that watches the just the eye test. Everyone that watched the game of football knows that he's worth a lot of money. He's worth upwards of $200 million, but it's a major risk simply because owners don't want to pay that. With the rocket ship of money that's coming into the NFL, it should not be even a question. He deserves the money and he needs to get it. And that's been the biggest story, along with what I'm going to get into right now with Aaron Rodgers. Those two have been the biggest stories of the entire offseason thus far. And it's really incredible. And we'll see exactly what happens there. But I really hope Lamar Jackson gets paid. He deserves it. He's put in the work. He's ultra competitor. He's worked well within that system, of course. Now Greg Roman's gone, so they have a new offensive coordinator coming, but now he's franchise tagged. Unrestricted franchise tag. Who's going to take that leap? Who's going to pay in that money? Is it Baltimore? Is it someone else? Is it a different franchise? We will see, and it will be fairly intriguing because I really do think it's simply because they believe he's going to be someone like a Russell, not a Russell, sorry, RG3, Robert Griffin III, like just flames out in his career because he got hit too much, or got injured, or they think he's going to be like a Russell Wilson. We know Russell Wilson is a very prolific passer and has been a great deep ball thrower for a long period of time. That's the reason why he commands so much money, because he can sit in the pocket and make the throws. Better arms than many would say Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson makes it happen. He's just a competitor. He gets everything. He's so deceptive, so athletic. Mike Vick, like a little bit more elusive, some will say, than the Mike Vick because of what he done. But prime Mike Vick and Lamar Jackson are fairly similar in how they played. Both have good arms. Mike Vick in some ways had a cannon of an arm, so I can't even say that. I don't want to go back and get killed by anyone. But Lamar Jackson deserves his money. He's one of the best players in the league. He's been one of the best players in the league for a long period of time. They've made the playoffs when he's there. Out of the AFC North, they've done it, right? They've competed. Didn't win this year. Of course, the Bengals played really well, but they've always competing at the top to get a number one spot in their conference, in their division, because of Lamar. And it's incredibly frustrating. It's incredibly unfair for what he's gotten. Of course, we should never say a millionaire it's unfair for them to not get a certain amount of money, but in his case, he deserves that money, and it's simply we've never seen it. And I blame Haslam, everyone with the Cleveland Browns that gave the Sean Watson that money. That's the reason why we're having this discussion right now, because you gave him $200 million, a lot of money guaranteed, and he's not necessarily the player that possibly Lamar is. Many will say that Lamar Jackson is better than Deshaun Watson. He's proven more. He's gotten an MVP. Deshaun Watson's a great player, and he has to work his way back since being out for that period of time. But point blank, Lamar Jackson deserves the money. And it's really frustrating to see, because it's the first time we've ever seen a former MVP, be treated like this, and he's still in his prime. Does not make any sense. But yes, the Falcons will go with Taylor Heineke, but not offer a Lamar Jackson. What? Or go with Desmond Ridder, who I love out of Cincinnati, but over Lamar Jackson? What? Ridiculous. Anyways, on to more drama. Rodgers and the Jets. So Aaron Rodgers went on to the Pat McAfee show, and everyone should know this by now. I'm going to assume that you don't. And said that he would like, his relationship with the Green Bay Packers has been fractured. He's at that point where they usually, Gutekunst, the GM, usually moves a year, or that entire executive team usually moves a year ahead of what they want. So say if they have a player they want to move, they let them go a year before they believe they should, right? So for instance, it's happened with Jordy Nelson. It's happened with a number of other players. AJ Hawk, not treating the vets as they should. This has been just a cultural thing they've done, an organizational pattern that they've had, and now it's landed on Aaron Rodgers. They want to move in the direction of Jordan Love, get rid of Aaron Rodgers. It's happened with Brett Favre, but Brett Favre came back for such a long period of time. But Aaron Rodgers is arguably one of the best players out of that franchise, right? I don't think he is the best one, because Bart Scott won Super Bowl number 1 and 2, but he's up there. And he's definitely a legend in Green Bay lore. But him speaking so much now about his career, so on and so forth, people are very frustrated. Some people are just annoyed with Aaron Rodgers, and people are fans of him, so on and so forth. You get so many people across the spectrum about talking about Aaron Rodgers, but his goal is to play for his former offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, who's now the offensive coordinator with the New York Jets. New York Jets signed Alan Lazard. There's a rumor about him putting out a wish list of what the team should do. He claimed those rumors were untrue. Told Adam Schefter to lose his number, but nice try though via text and put Adam Schefter put it out there. Loser. I can't call him loser. Schefter does some really, really good work over there at ESPN. But Green Bay is in no rush to get rid of him. They're looking for a number of different ways to package his deal. They are in talks with the New York Jets. They're trying to squeeze out as much as they can for him. And, many Jets fans are saying they don't want to give up any first for this 39-year-old quarterback who may play for about a year or two. And then there are other Jets fans or fandoms or critics that are saying they just let it happen because you don't want to see another year of Zach Wilson stinking up the place. Take Aaron Rodgers. You have a Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. You have, Mims. You have Corey Davis. You have guys, Uzama. You've got some formidable players. Now you got Alan Lazard, another receiver that has proven himself with Aaron Rodgers. I personally would have loved to see Aaron Rodgers in Las Vegas with Devontae Adams again. But seeing what's happening right here, it's incredible to see. And I hope the deal does get done, but it's becoming a very, very long process. And they're going through, okay, what picks do you want to give? What picks don't you want to give? They're in no rush to get Aaron Rodgers out there. So technically, realistically right now, Aaron Rodgers is still a Green Bay Packer and is still contractually obligated to the Green Bay Packers, but would like to move on with the Jets. And they've had conversations. He went through his darkness retreat, contemplating even coming back, said he was 90% about retiring, 10% about playing. I don't find that to be true. I don't think he can just walk away from the game that easily right now. After what happened last year, you have to come back, not be a pansy, but comes back. But now you're seeing this strict effects of the salary cap. You're seeing the strict effect of how tough it can be to move a large contract. This is the prime example. And I do believe they are going to get a deal done soon. Coach Robert Saleh, Hackett, other executives have actually had a conversation with Aaron Rodgers. They've done their due diligence. They've had a meeting with them. They've gotten Aaron Rodgers got the approval to have a conversation with other teams. And yeah, they want to move on to Jordan Love and see exactly what happens there. But Aaron Rodgers just displayed his frustration with the organization. It's been happening for 2 or 3 years now. He's just always been moaning and crying about it. I, once again, still am a pretty big Aaron Rodgers guy, but I'm more of the player fan. The person can be a little bit, pick me energy, a little bit woe is me. But that's neither here nor there. All we judge them on is exactly what they can do on the football field, and and how they uplift their teammates. And he's done a decent job of that. He's been great. And I even saw a clip today of why Aaron Rodgers only has 1 ring and all the drops that he had against the Tampa Bay. And oh my gosh, in 20 against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where Tom Brady went on to win his 7th Super Bowl. Just all the drops you had from Devontae to Alan Lazard to Bob Tunyon and some other rookies that were dropping balls there. I think it was St. Brown, Economius St. Brown, and now is on the Bears, doing a lot more. But huge drops in that game and some uncharacteristic mistakes they made in that game. It's looking back now in that year, it's incredible to see, because they should have went to the Super Bowl and they should have won the Super Bowl against. Then it would have been the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, it would have been a good game, but it would be awesome to see those two teams go back at it. But realistically, in the NFL and the NBA, you're seeing how this strict contracts can really hold the team, or really hold certain franchises to contemplate what they're going to do next, so on and so forth. Right now, Juju Smith-Schuster has been signed by the New England Patriots, and they lose that number 1 receiver. I technically would not say that he was number 1 receiver last year. I don't think he was the best receiver on the team. I think it was a combination of him, Marcus Scantlin, you had Sky Moore, of course, Travis Kelce in the middle is the best tight end, arguably of all time, getting the ball and spreading the ball around there and just doing really creative schemes that Eric Bieniemy and Greedy would put together. So there's not technically a number one. I believe when Tyreek Hill was there, he's the last true number one receiver they had, but he's gone. But who would they go to now? Of course, you have Odell Beckham Jr., you have DeAndre Hopkins out there. There's so many moving parts. I can see DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Kansas City Chiefs somehow, some way. He's going to command a lot of money, but he wants to win, and he hasn't won, so I can see that. So that's still left to be seen. And of course, Patrick Mahomes is still hungry. Those boys are still hungry. They'll come back next year and be very tough to get out again. Bengals addressed an issue with the offensive line with Orlando Brown being signed, so they're getting better. They signed another offensive lineman as well too, so they're getting better here more and more here and there. And just overall, the NFL is just becoming more competitive with the moves that's happening. It feels like there's so many moves every single day that it's occurring. Players jumping ship to different areas, players getting mad with the organization for signing someone of their position. Exactly what happened to the Bengals. And now you see Lyle Collins wanting out from the Bills because Orlando Brown is there. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of egos that are being shattered, but that's just a part of the game, I guess, when you say it. March Madness is upon us, and we've seen a number of Canadians go off. We got Ryan Nembhard out of Aurora, Ontario going off. We got Charles Bediako on Alabama, the number one seed. He's playing out of his mind. Zach Edey, unfortunately, is out of there. Got a Princeton guard out of Toronto, is playing incredible. So many Canadians doing their thing on the national level right now. And Maxine Prosper with the Marquette Eagles, Golden Eagles. They got bounced, but he played really well. So there's so many Canadians providing just a lot of content, and just a lot of talent and a lot of production for their teams, and it's been an incredible journey, incredible tournament thus far. Lowest percentage shooting ever in the NCAA tournament, but they just got it together. They've done it. It's been entertaining overall. I believe that Alabama will go to the Final Four. They have to, with the teams that now Virginia is out, Purdue's out. They must go to the finals. I think a team like Arkansas is fairly, very, really good as well too. Gonzaga is good. All the teams right now that are left are doing a very good job. They deserve to be in the Sweet 16, which will be Elite Eight coming soon. You let me know who you think is going to win. Who you think are the teams that are going to win the entire tournament. We can have a conversation about that fairly soon. We'll be out on our way with that. But I'll get into more of that fairly soon. Talk to you about the NCAA tournament, more movement in the NFL. It's been incredible. So much entertainment happening, so many things happening, and I cannot wait to just jump into it. But I am Brandon Graham. This is TRUENORTH.BET Podcast, and I cannot wait to be back with you fairly soon. Keep balling, check it out, and of course, make sure you're betting on TRUENORTH.BET. It's always a bet in the right direction. Let's get it.